It's another delicious day here in the Let's Make Food from Food kitchen. Thanks for joining me. Today we're headed down to the south for a little country fried steak. Chicken fried steak, that's what it's called. I have some cube steak, all of my ingredients ready to go here. We're gonna make some gravy to go with it. Heart attack on a plate, and we love it, right? Right? Sometimes you just gotta be bad. So let's get started with our first steps because we're gonna let our steaks rest for about 10 minutes in our dredge. So I wanna take my flour, which is my unbleached all-purpose flour, baking soda, baking powder, salt, garlic powder, and onion powder. And then I'm gonna take some fresh cracked pepper, about a 1/4 teaspoon, maybe a little more. This is to your taste. If you don't like a lot of pepper, leave it out. If you like it spicy, you could add some cayenne pepper to this. Okay, that's good for now. I am gonna leave it out because I will need it for my gravy. Okay, we're gonna just give that a whisk. I'm starting to think my bowls aren't big enough. We'll make it work because that's what we do. Okay, set that aside. Now before I move on, I want to say first, thanks for joining me. If you're new, welcome. And if you like what you're seeing, would you mind hitting that like button and click that subscribe? It really truly does help us out as creators. If you've been with me for a while, welcome back. Thanks for coming to see me again. It's always good to see you. Now that that's out of the way, we're gonna crack 1 egg. This is a large egg. And I'm just gonna break the yolk a little. And then I have 1 cup of buttermilk I'm gonna add to that. Okay. And just whisk it together. Now the only thing that I've heated so far is my oven, and I have heated that to 200 degrees. So why are we using this pan but heating the oven? Great question. So we are going to use this pan to make our gravy as well. So I put my chicken fried steaks when they're cooked on a rack in the oven to keep them warm. And also if you're making a batch for more than 2 people, then you need to cook this in batches and you want to keep them warm as you cook your batches and then still the gravy. So that's why. All right, we have our 2 bowls mixed together, our liquids and our dries, and I'm going to take a paper towel. I've already done this a little bit. And just pat off any excess moisture, because once it sits together like that, it'll leak out a little more, and that's okay. We just want to pat them dry. So I'm going to dredge this one. I almost did that wrong. I'm going to dredge this in the flour. Okay, and I'm getting a pan out to set over here. Okay, so full dredge in the flour. Yep, I probably should have got a bigger pan for this. That's okay. We'll make it work. I always do. Okay, I got a plate with some sides on it to put the flour on because I want to make sure it's well coated. And next time I'll just use a bigger bowl. It's different working in this kitchen than my personal kitchen because the sizes of things, some things are different. We are going to completely submerge this into the buttermilk. Okay, and then back over to the flour. Okay, and I want to get a nice good coating on there, and I'm pressing flour in there, and I'm just going to transfer it to my baking sheet. I'm going to take a little more flour and press it on top. I'm going to do this next one a little bit differently to prevent my fingers from putting divots into all that lovely flour I just dredged it in. Okay, so I'm using a fork this time. Okay, and I want to make sure it's got a full coating of flour. Okay, I'm just going to shake off any excess and put it in my dredge. All right, we're going to let it drip for just a second and put it back into the flour and continue to coat it in our flour. Okay, I'm going to flip it a couple of times because as you lift it and shake, you'll see what needs to be covered a little bit more. And then we will put it on our sheet here. All right, Now I'm gonna get rid of this over here. I'm just gonna pile stuff over there and pretend it doesn't exist. I'm done with this. So I'm gonna set a timer for about 10 minutes and let this rest, and then we're gonna move on. I'm gonna turn this on to about 315, 320. We don't want our oil to come to a smoking point, so I don't want it super hot. We're not filling this up. It's not a deep fry, it's a pan fry. So see you back here in just a second. Okay, and we are back. I've got my pan heating up. I'm gonna go ahead and put my oil in there. You basically want a good coating on the bottom of the oil. Okay, now, while that's finishing heating, I'm gonna go ahead and give one more dredge in my flour. Okay. And this is optional, see that? Came off. So perhaps I didn't dry that one as much as I should have. So I think what I'm gonna do is just let this sit in the flour so that that doesn't happen again. There we go. I'll let both of those sit in the flour. Okay, something else I have here is a pan with a raised rack so that these can sit in the oven and stay warm and also drain off any excess oil. Okay, so this is feeling ready, but if you're not sure, let me just take a little tiny bit here. Just, there we go. So if it foams like that and bubbles, should be ready to go. Okay, so I'm gonna cook these on each side for 3 to 4 minutes. These aren't very thick. Okay, just like so. And I'm not going to crowd them. I want them to have space all the way around the pan and in between each one. Okay, I've set my timer and I'm not going to flip them. I'm not going to look. We're just going to let them cook. All right, let us check these and make sure they're nice and golden. Oh yeah. I'm going to flip them over. Look at that. Beautiful. Carefully flip them over. Good, good, good. All right, same thing. Cook them for 3 to 4 minutes aside. And then when that time is done, we will put them into our pan, stick them in the oven, and get started with our gravy. You need butter, flour, salt, pepper, milk, and half and half or heavy cream, depending on what you prefer. Okay, let's see how the other side is doing. Oops, I don't want that to fall apart. Stay together. Okay, that one is definitely done. I'm going to put it in here. Okay, that looks beautiful. I want my breading to stay together and it's wanting to come apart. Okay, now it's going to sit there. I'm going to put it in the oven. I did turn my oven up a little bit to get it a little warmer. Okay, and I want to drain out my oil from my pan. Okay, I'm gonna put this back on and add my butter to melt. Okay, you don't want to get rid of any of these lovely bits that are in there in your pan. Don't scrape those out. That's going to help flavor your gravy. Okay, and then I'm going to add my flour to make my roux. And the roux is what thickens your gravy. Okay, 3 tablespoons of butter, 3 tablespoons of flour. Now I know that a lot of people will use the oil to make their roux, and for me that's just too much oil, which is why I use the butter. But if you are all in for that, because it is flavored deliciously now, you could just use 3 tablespoons of the oil instead. Just make sure you measure it. So take it out, measure it. Okay, once we see this is bubbling and foaming, we're gonna let it cook for just about 30 seconds or so while we stir it continuously. Okay, now we're going to pour in our milk. And this will thicken as we cook it. Okay, next I'm gonna stir in my heavy cream. I'm only adding pepper at this point because I want this to cook some, and then I'll taste the salt content from the butter that's in there before I decide if I'm going to add a whole bunch more. But I do want a good amount of pepper in my gravy. All right, our gravy's getting nice and bubbly. And I'm going to let that go for a few more minutes, and then I will taste it and see if I need to add more salt or pepper, or both. All right, let's give it a little more stir, and then I'm going to give it a taste. Let's see. Okay, definitely more salt. So I'm going to start with a 1/4 teaspoon at a time. Yeah, I've been over salting things lately, not on purpose. I think I just get distracted and forget that I've already salted it. Oops. We're ready to serve up and enjoy our delicious chicken fried steak. So I'm just going to take my gravy and spoon it right on there deliciously. Use as much or as little as you want. And there we go. Delicious, beautiful, nummy. And that's all there is to it for delicious chicken fried steak. Now, my last video had hash browns. Homemade hash browns was the video, and I double dog dare you to go and make that with this. Fabulous. Delicious. I love it. Thanks for joining me here today in the Let's Make Food from Food kitchen. From my kitchen to yours, let's make food from food.
That's one boy.